photographer who celebrates the power of women and the beauty of their stories. Welcome to Diana Prince Lives Next Door. In my journey as a photographer and business owner, I have met so many remarkable women who make contributions to this world that make it a better place. This series is dedicated to them. I want to acknowledge their collective power and their beauty. I want to shed a spotlight on their daily heroism. Today, my Diana Prince is Charissa Yong of Charissa H. Yong Photography, LLC. Charissa is passionate about helping service-based entrepreneurs show up confidently and authentically, and she creates eye-catching visuals so they can attract their ideal clients and build their businesses. Charissa lives in Westwood, New Jersey, with her husband and two beautiful daughters. Charissa, welcome to Diana Prince, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Angela.
So I want to share with you why I think you're Diana Prince. When we first met, you shared with me a story about how you transitioned from corporate America to business owner and how you made that decision. The first thing that I thought of is how courageous, because you're jumping into, so to speak, unknown waters. You may be a little familiar with it, you may not be, but the difference is night and day from corporate America to business owner. And also knowing that you're going to be going through a huge transition takes that courage. And it's also a leap of faith in your own ability to learn something new. Not everybody does it, first of all, otherwise everybody would be a business owner. So I wanted to bring you on so that you can share this story. I feel that in sharing that story, you can inspire another woman, maybe plant a seed. Maybe somebody else is sitting on a fence and isn't quite ready to take the jump. Mm-hmm. But in sharing your story, you may be able to help them. So why don't we start out with the why you took that leap of faith?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's very scary to do that. But my why is mainly my family. I was at the same job for 11 years after college. During that time, I was traveling for work, 6 to 8 weeks at a time. And it was fine because we didn't have any kids. It's the reason why I decided to quit is the struggle of putting in that 40-hour a week and having a newborn. And that was a really struggle. And add on to that, I was also commuting 3 hours a day to go to work, an hour and a half each way. So it was exhausting. And I got to a point where I felt burned out. I'm not happy. And my family gets the brunt of it. I was very nappy and I was just feeling very depressed. And I said, something got to change. And so I didn't know whether I want to find another job closer to home, like another corporate job, or do something else. And I knew if I'm going to do another corporate job, it's going to be similar to what I did before, where there's zero creativity. And I think I was craving for that creativity that I said, I love photography. I was taking auto at the time. Mm-hmm. Didn't know anything about manual and didn't know about anything in terms of photography business in general, even though my family has owned multiple restaurants. Dad had owned restaurants. So, I've seen a little bit of the business side of it, but again, I don't know much of it. But I said, my husband and I had a long talk, and it's hard because if you go from 2 income to 1 income, and also living in Bergen County is very expensive. So my main thing was, can we afford to do that? So my husband said, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. And it is because of his support that I was able to go full on with this, quit my job and just say, I'm just going to dive right in, and took some online courses, learn how to shoot in manual. And I was very lucky too. I have another photographer friend who's a wedding photographer, and she does my kid's newborn photos. And she knew I was going into the business, and she has been a wonderful mentor to me. So I have to give her a big shout out for it. Her name is Jane DiMaggio, and she has a photography business. I believe right now she had moved to Ohio. So I'm kind of miss her. I'm like, you're not my family photographer anymore. But yeah, so having the support of my family, a friend who is a wedding photographer who knows about the business was very helpful for me, that I felt comfortable of jumping into it, even though inside I was scared out of my mind, like what happened if this doesn't work out. So I told my husband, let me just give it 2 years, 3 years. If this doesn't work out, by that time, my kids will be older. I can go out a full-time job. And yeah, that's the whole reason why I just want to see if this passion can kind of help me bring back some of the joy that I missed while I was working in corporate.
Right. And I think one thing that I want to just kind of spotlight on is that you did have a mentor, as you mentioned, and photography, I could tell you from my background, it's the creative piece of it. Like the question is always, can you get an income from it? And the fact that you at least had that piece of it from your mentor and knew that at least it had a business model that may work. So that's really important to note is the mentorship. Let's go into the mindset, because you were in corporate for 11 years. You had a paycheck. You went into, from college, you went into corporate, right? Was it for the steady paycheck? And how hard was that to transition out of having a steady paycheck to something that is going to take a while before you see any income for it? But how did you deal with that, with that piece of it? Because that's the big fear, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of women going into business.
Yes, definitely. For me, is during the time when I was at corporate, I was saving a lot of money, especially when I was traveling. Because when I was traveling, everything is paid for. I stay at a hotel, the car rental is paid for, my meals are paid for. So during that time, I was saving a lot of money. We also had a mortgage to pay. So, but when you have a steady paycheck, if you don't have the other expenses and also the commuting, the 3-hour commute that I'm doing, I'm easily spending $500-600 in gas and tolls. So I'm saving that money. And every time I get a bonus and every time I get extra money, I just save. And I'm not saying like you save and then you don't have a life. You still can go out and enjoy yourself, sure. But I'm a saver since I was little, and so having that and a good amount of money in my bank account before I quit was very helpful, because if I didn't have a lot of money saved and going into the business, I think I would have gotten myself into debt and feel more stressed out about it. And also, depending on the business, if you're a business that requires capital, then yeah, you do have to get money from a bank or whatever to source your products or whatever. So I was able to say, okay, I have this amount of money. I'm going to only spend this much on the gear, just the basics, the body and one lens. And I started with that. And my mentor also agreed, like, don't add any more lenses or add anything to your equipment list until you started to get some income. So throughout these 4.5 years I was doing business, I was just very careful of keeping up with how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. And I'm also a very generous person. I love giving gifts to my client and treating them, and referral partners, I'll send them a little gift, because I appreciate them choosing me over other photographers and wanted to work with, because they have other choices. When they want to work with me, I want to show that I appreciate them. So like with that, I always work into the budget. Budgeting, that's another thing with going into business, is that you have to really budget more to make sure that you do have enough money to pay for whatever you're going to get. So that's really my take on it.
No, that's really, really good. I mean, but the saving was just part of about part of who you were. It wasn't like you were anticipating it. It was just nice to have, when you decided it. So it made it a little easier, and you were ready for it. So, so now you're in, this new space. Tell me how that transition was for you. Like once you left corporate and went into, let's say, the networking space and everything that it takes to build a business. How did you do that transition? What did you learn first?
Well, the first thing I learned is I found a course to learn how to shoot manual, how to run the photography business pricing, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I also made a lot of mistakes on my first. I think, especially because I'm inexperienced in terms of business or in the photography and also in the photography world. So I made a lot of mistakes where, I would listen to a coach or listen to whatever course that I was doing, and I implemented exactly what they say to do, but without strategy that works for me. I think that was my mistake. I was like, oh, if they did it, I could do that too. Some people may work for them, but it didn't work for me. And I'm also very bad at selling, and I hate selling. And I remember in college, I was working at Dale. I couldn't sell a piece of jewelry for the life of me because people said no. I'm just like, okay. And that's how I was asking for this. And I hated when I have to do that, and I didn't know how to do it. So then the networking started, and then learning about personal branding. And then I kind of like, okay, personal branding, let me see if I can and build my own personal brand and see how that would impact my business. And so through, I think I spent about 1 year to build my brand, my personal brand network. And people think about branding as their logo, but it's more like your personality. Who are you when you talk to people? What do they remember you, and all of that? And also in terms of also showing your work and client testimonial, things like that. So I did all of that, and it seems like, it's almost 2 years since I did that. And that was my most successful marketing strategy, that I didn't feel like I'm selling. I'm just basically say, this is what I do, this is who I help, and then also showing a little bit of my family side to kind of be a human, relate to people.
Yeah.
So and so doing that, so I was doing that, and then networking definitely helped. I didn't do networking until almost a year into business. The first year was more of practicing and building my portfolio. So the second year I went out to network, and I haven't stopped since. I feel like, I don't know about for you, but I feel like networking is so important. And I know a lot of photographers, they don't do it as much, but networking is huge for any business. That's how you meet people. That's how people will learn about who you are or what you do, things like that. And also, it also gives you a wider area, just open up your mind to more people who are doing businesses that you might not even heard of. And it's very interesting, I find.
Yeah, I mean, also the community, just being part of a community as opposed to making every business decision on your own. So you're 4.5 years in. Tell me about where you're at with your journey right now.
So my journey right now, I started as a family photographer. I still do family, not as much. But my focus right now has been just working with service-based business owner. And the reason why I say service-based business owner is because we're service-based too, right? Photographer, we're also service-based. And that's how I found out about personal branding. And that's how I was applying all my marketing strategies. I felt like I was able to help more with service-based business owners. And I also have a few product-based business owners, but they also wanted the personal branding side of it. Because now they see the importance of personal branding. So right now that's what I'm focusing on. I'm also in a couple of paid organizations. I'm in the leadership team for the National Association of Women Business Owners. So it's just wonderful, like volunteering for that. I'm learning a lot about the organization and also working with other women business owners who have more experience than me, and they're in different industry, which is very interesting. And also in mastermind group, and the mastermind group has been really, really helpful in my business. So investing in that was probably another good decision that I made, because I needed help. We're all solo entrepreneur. And we were making decisions in the beginning, and that's probably why I made a lot of mistakes, because I don't have the guidance. And so being a part of a mastermind group, I learned so much from others, people's struggle, and also my own struggle, that I get the right feedback to kind of keep me focused and going on down the right path. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
And your happiness level?
My happiness level, it's up and down. Having a family is always a struggle. I have 2 little kids, and they're all under 5, so it's always a struggle balancing and everything. But I've gotten better in controlling my own schedule, time management, and I think one of the things I had to learn was saying no to people, or saying no to things that, if let's say I'm invited to this event, I can squeeze it in. So I probably can use that hour to kind of just sit down and just shoving it down my mouth in 5 minutes and go to the next meeting, right? So yeah, I have to really listen more to my own body, my mind, my mental health, and then make the decision if I want to say yes to certain things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And saying no is a great attribute.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah. Next time.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, regardless of what the business piece throws at you, right? The challenges, I mean, it's what you want to do. So, I can imagine that regardless of what comes at you, and you, of course, you have your community around you, which is the best thing you could possibly do. You have your mastermind around you, but regardless of the challenge, you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
Right. So it's night and day from 4.5 years ago, driving to work.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't change a thing. I think the flexibility is a huge help.
You're in the driver's seat too.
Yeah.
So you're not beholden, like you're not going in on Monday and finding out that you walked into a buzzsaw, You're in the driver's seat of what comes in and what comes out of your life, as opposed to the other piece of it is. And I say that because I'm also a convert. It's a big difference. It's a huge difference. So anybody out there listening, ladies, if you are looking to open up your own business, please, listen to our talk here, because you may just take the jump right now.
Yeah. So, and you can do it.
You absolutely can do it. So I want to, I do want to thank you for sharing, that story with us. Like I said, in the beginning, it is important that other women, get that inspiration. And, but we still have one more thing for our viewers. And because we're photographers, I particularly, I am all about the woman who just always, we tend to just kind of fade out in the background and be more of a support for our families and everything like that. So my voice is always to encourage women to exist in photographs. I am really happy that Charissa has agreed to give us tips on how to get the best photo from your mobile, Of course, we prefer you to get professional, photos for, to document your legacy. But if you can't do it, you can certainly get beautiful photos from your mobile. So, Charissa, I'm going to pass it off to her.
The most important thing, doesn't matter what camera you have. You can have the cheapest camera to the most expensive camera. If you don't have good lighting, the photos don't come out right? So one of the things that I tell my client, and even when I give tips to other people, is that lighting is very important. If you're indoor, just make sure you have the windows open and face the window, face the door. And if you're doing selfie, and hold it, or actually like put it on the tripod is probably best, and then set a time. Okay. And what you can do is I recommend like morning time lighting or evening time lighting. Noontime is fine too. It just depends on how bright it is. Sometimes it's so bright at noon. And I have this little trick that I do at home too. I use sheer curtains. You can use 1 or 2 layers of sheer curtains. Put it on your window, and that would diffuse the light and makes it softer and not as harsh. But another thing is that you can do, if you're taking picture of your family, put it on a tripod. As a mom, we always forget to be in the picture. Put it on a tripod, set a timer. Run to your kids. That actually makes them laugh and smile in a more genuine way. And I do this all the time with my kids. Yeah, especially when I'm like, let's take a family photo. And I'm like, I'm not doing selfie, set a timer, and I just run with my child back and forth. And they love it. And we always get great pictures out of that. And another quick tip is, and all our cell phones have this option, is if whatever picture you're trying to take, you want the camera to focus on that point where you want it to be sharp. So you can just touch your phone and hold it. And basically, so for example, if I'm holding it right now, I'm touching it and I'm holding onto Angela. if you touch and hold, you'll see like a little box that comes out with sunlight. And that's basically telling the camera that I want the camera to focus on this spot. And then you can push your finger up and down and put the lighting brighter or darker. And that also makes your pictures better too. So that's another fun little trick and like most of our newer cell phone has that feature.
Yeah, and I'm holding on my cell phone right now. I have natural light. I do have a little bit of I do have a light ring, but the natural light, I can see how it, how phenomenal it looks. And this is just my cell phone. So if I follow that and just click here, and then press, the tripod would be a lot better, but I can see that.
Yeah.
Wow. But it does look fantastic.
Yeah. Natural light is definitely the best. If you can take it like during the daytime, you can get the best lighting.
Fantastic. Thank you, Charissa. And so we're at the end of our talk. And if you're watching or listening to us today, please do look Charissa up and get to know her. She is a fantastic photographer. If you are a service-based entrepreneur, by all means, I've seen Charissa's pictures. Please look her up. She's also about the client. I know that firsthand, as I've had the pleasure of working with her over the years. So please do find her. Her website is CarissaHYongPhotography.com. I will also list it in the description underneath. Thank you, everyone. Charissa, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Angela.